I mean, this is an amazing story. So we're gonna talk about it once again because I think it's the whole heart of getting baptized. I mean, it was important when Jesus went to get baptized because he told us that it is important. He said to John, he said, I'm going to fulfill all righteousness today by you baptizing me. And in that, his Father declared him prepared for ministry, that he was releasing him to go preach and to go and to do that. Today, he was the beloved Son with whom he was well pleased. But now this story happened how we have life. It just happened in the moment. And so we're going to talk about this today. Now, this is an actual road in Tuscany. This is an actual Roman road in Tuscany. But through the magic of AI, I have added in a pond to make it relevant to what we're talking about, because we really don't know where Philip got baptized. But it would have been along a road like this, a Roman road. This is a Roman road. It would have been alongside a Roman road like this that was heading down to Ethiopia. And the magic of this story, the beauty of this story, the timeliness of the story is the fact that everything worked out. And I want to talk about that today because God is so great. God is so great that he planned this entire story out from beginning to end. What do I mean? Let's start out. We're going to talk about first the setup. We're going to talk about how this all came to be. See, here's the setup to this. Philip was in a major revival. He was at a church. They said 10,000 people were there. There was a lot going on. And one of his friends comes up, and Philip, he's going to get called somewhere else. And an Ethiopian eunuch came up from Ethiopia to Jerusalem to see the Passover. And while he's been there at the Passover, he's bought a scroll, a trinket, something to remember this time there. But he's Ethiopian, and he doesn't understand Hebrew culture. And so we're going to read what happens here. Next verse. As for Philip, the angel of the Lord said to him, go south down the desert road that runs from Jerusalem to Gaza. So he started out, and he met the treasurer of Ethiopia, a eunuch of great authority under the Candrake, the queen of Ethiopia. The eunuch had gone to Jerusalem to worship, and he was now returning. Seated in his carriage, he was reading aloud from the book of the prophet Isaiah. Okay, why is he reading from the book of the prophet Isaiah? Well, guess what? Matthew, Mark, Luke, John had not been written yet. So we only have the Old Testament. And he's reading in the Old Testament. And so this is how this story comes together. It's like that first part of the movie that sets up the rest of the movie. We've got Philip leaving his revival and coming out to stand on a dusty road. We've got an Ethiopian eunuch returning home after being at Jerusalem to worship in this festival that he thought he would come up to take part in. And they come together on this dusty road between Jerusalem and Gaza. Now, our older adults know exactly where that would be because Jerusalem and Gaza are constantly in the news. So we all kind of know exactly what this is. And they meet together on this road. All right, let's keep going. And that brings up the opening. So we've got these two people unrelated, and now we need an opening. So let's read what happened. What gave Philip the opening to talk to this eunuch? Keep going. The Holy Spirit said to Philip, go over and walk along beside the carriage. So Philip ran over, and he heard the man reading from the prophet Isaiah. And Philip asked, do you understand what you are reading? And the man replied, how can I unless someone instructs me? And he urged Philip to come up into the carriage and sit with him. What did Philip do? He met the man where he was. I see you're reading a scroll. Do you understand that you're reading aloud? And he goes, I don't. He said, do you? And Philip says, I do. And he says, well, come on up. Can you go with me a while? Come explain this to me so I can understand your Jewish culture. And Philip said, okay, I've got nothing better to do. Do you see What happened here? We do the same thing in our life. We look for that opening. When I'm in the hospital, a lot of times I look around patients' rooms and see what they're into. What was so important that they had to bring it with them while they were going through the worst time of their life? I start looking, and I look for ways that we can connect. Are they watching a TV show that I know? And we connect in that way. We talk about that. What does this TV show mean to you? What about this magazine that you're reading? Are you big into knitting? You know, I see them knitting, and I say, how long have you knitted before? And of course they tell you because they're very proud of their knitting. But I mean, there's all kinds of different ways in which we connect. And Philip had found his way. He was told to be here for this man. He recognized that this was the man that he probably was supposed to be here for. And he looked for the opening. He hears him reading Isaiah, and he says, I understand this. And he says, hey, are you understanding this? And the guy says, I don't. And Philip says, I'm here. And the guy said, oh, come on up. I need to understand this. I want to understand your Jewish culture. And there was an opening. It happens the same way in your lives. I was thinking about this before I came. This sounds strange to us. We don't meet people just sitting around reading the Bible, do we? No, we have friends that says, I was at church yesterday and the pastor started talking about regeneration. Do you understand what that means? I don't get that. I don't understand why he uses these big words, these big 5-cent words. What's regeneration? What a weirdo, you know? And we see that. We see people questioning those things. And hopefully, as a member of our church, we've taught you those things. And so that's your new opening to be able to explain that. Just like Philip is taking an opening. You might be at work. And suddenly, Bill comes in the workroom. And he starts talking. He says, man, he said, I was over there at my church yesterday. And he said, that pastor's in Revelations, and I don't get this or that. And I said, Bill, you're in good company. I don't understand that either. But you remember something that we've talked about, and you use that as your opening to help Bill see the word clearer. It may not be as obvious as what it is with here with Philip and this Ethiopian eunuch. It may not be that obvious when your time comes that you have to share your faith with somebody else. But don't miss it. In fact, you should be praying that you'll recognize those opportunities. I heard a pastor talking about, he said he'd had a congregant come to him, and this guy said, man, pastor, I never see anybody that I need to talk to about Jesus. And he said, that's because your eyes are not open. He said, start praying that your eyes will be open and you will start seeing it. When it becomes important to you and you realize the importance to God, God will reveal these people. But as long as you don't see it as important to talk to people, you'll be blind. Philip was looking for this person to talk to. Philip knew he was beside that road for a purpose, and he was looking for this person to talk to. And he recognized as soon as he started hearing the words of Isaiah, Philip being a good Jew who had heard these words from his youth, he recognized that this was my opening to talk to this person of a different color, of a different faith, of a different belief system, history, and to help him to understand who is Jesus. Let's keep going. We've got a problem. Let's read the problem, because the only way to understand what we're supposed to do is we have to see what the problem is. He said the passage of scripture he'd been reading was this: he was led like a sheep to the slaughter, and as a lamb is silent before the shearers, he did not open his mouth. He was humiliated and received no justice. Who can speak of his descendants? For his life was taken from the earth. Guess what? Philip had been with Jesus. He knew who this was talking about. Now, other Jews, they were thinking this was somebody else to come. But Philip had been with Jesus, and he recognized Jesus in these scriptures that the eunuch was reading. And he said, let me tell you about Jesus. I walked with him. I was there. I know his disciples. I've been in Jerusalem. I've done all these things. I understand exactly what this is talking about. He heard something that became familiar and that he could contribute to his understanding. Let's keep going. I'm trying to go fast because I know we got parties to go to, okay? All right. There became a plea for help. Now, this is the most important part. If we don't hear a plea for help, it's really hard to bring clarity to someone. We have so many proud people that are afraid to ask for help. There was a plea for help. That's what the beautiful part of this next verse is. That there's a plea for help. The eunuch asked Philip, "Tell me, was the prophet talking about himself or someone else?" He agreed to let Philip teach him. He said, was Isaiah talking about himself or was he talking about someone to come? One of my favorite lines in Acts, Philip told him the good news about Jesus. Guess what? I'm here to tell you I lived with the man. I know the man. I've been there when he's healed people. I've seen all kinds of things because of this man they're talking to about. And the very people that he came to save crucified him. I was there. I've seen the man. I know the man. He's like, he did suffer. Just as this verse in Isaiah said he was going to suffer, he did exactly that. And he was silent before them. They tried to get him to speak, and he refused to give them the satisfaction of bringing him down to their level. He did it willingly. He went to the cross willingly for all of us. Because he loves us and he wants to spend eternity with us. I'm sure he recounted that last night that the John Bible study is going to talk about. That he recounted that Jesus said, I'm getting ready to go away, but I'm going to prepare a place and we're all going to live together there after you're done with your time on this earth. And there will be no more separation anymore. We'll be together. All people that believe in me are going to be together in the kingdom that my Father has prepared for us. I am going now, but you will follow me later. Believe in me on this earth. And he told him about the power that was given to man on this earth because of this Jesus that they were reading about in Isaiah. And then a beautiful thing happened. A beautiful thing happened. We had a response. The eunuch took in all this, and then there was a response. There was something that happened. He started taking this in, and something became alive inside of his chest. He said, I've needed this all of my life. I need this. How do I show that I will follow this man? And as they rode along, they came to some water. And the eunuch said, look, here is some water. Why can't I be baptized? And he ordered the carriage to stop. And they went down into the water, and Philip baptized him. He heard the word of God. It did something inside of his heart. And then he said, I want to declare to the world that I am no longer under the Ethiopian law, but I will follow Jesus all the days of my life. I will follow this man who came and died for me. I will follow him to the ends of this earth. I may work for the Ethiopian house of Kandrek, I believe her name was. I may work for her, but I will follow Jesus. Very much the same as a man named Naaman said to Elisha hundreds of years before. He said, I'm going home, but I will continue to serve this God that you serve. He said, I'm taking this dirt so that I may lean on this earth and then show that I will follow him all these days. This Ethiopian got so excited. He said, let me show. Just like our two children are going to do here in just a bit. They're saying, I'm going to show the world. I'm going to declare to the world, I follow Jesus. I don't follow my flesh. I don't follow all these other things that everybody's trying to get me to follow. Celebrities, everything else. I follow Jesus. He said, let me go show that. I see water. There's no reason why we can't do this today. And look, next picture. Just like this, he saw water. He saw opportunity to declare that he would follow this Jesus. And he said, I'm not going to wait any longer. I have to declare it. I will follow the man. He saw the water and he said, here's my opportunity to declare this now. Not tomorrow, not the next day, but today. I'm going to declare I will follow Jesus. Wow. Did you feel the same? Did you feel the same? The same message that was given to him was given to you. And many of you here, I believe most people here are baptized. You responded in the same way. But did you respond with the joy that we describes this eunuch did? Let's keep going. Let's see the result. Let's see what happens. When they came up out of the water, the Spirit of the Lord snatched Philip away. Then the eunuch never saw him again. Philip's time with this eunuch was specifically for this moment, this period of time. I was talking about this with Carol earlier. Do you realize how crazy this had to be? A man leaves Jerusalem. A man leaves this revival that's happening in another town 20 miles away. They meet on this dirt road, and right when it comes to the point of decision, a pool of water appears beside the road. It had been waiting there since the beginning of the earth. There had been a pool of water there waiting for the day when this eunuch would make his decision. And that day it saw its purpose. It was ready. It was ready when it came his time. It just so happened that Philip was winding up, was telling this eunuch how he could follow Jesus, and then this pool of water is right there, and he gets to get baptized right there and declare. And after that moment, it says, they came up out of the water, the Spirit of the Lord snatched Philip away. And in other words, Philip was no longer there. He was gone. And the eunuch never saw him again. But he remembered. He had declared that Jesus Christ is mine. He said, but he went on his way rejoicing. He was excited. He had found the truth. He had found that pearl of great price, and he had surrendered all and said, I want that pearl of great price in my life. He said, I want to be worth something. I don't want to just be a treasure in the house of Candrake. I want to be more than that. I want to be a child of the living God. I believe that Jesus Christ died for my sins in Ethiopia, just like he died for these Jews' sins up here in Jerusalem. He died for the straight person. He died for the gay person. He died for the black person, for the white person, for the yellow person, for all the different people of the world. He came and he died. And he said, whoever so willed, you can follow. Are you ready for that? I'm not promising he'll leave you the same. I don't believe this Ethiopian eunuch was left the same after he walked out of there. And obviously he went away with joy. What started out as a day of confusion, trying to figure out what these Jewish people meant in these verses, turned into a rejoicing day. A day when everything changed. A day when life became different. He was excited. It says he went away rejoicing. History teaches us that he started a revival among the Ethiopians. But interestingly enough, Interestingly enough, for Philip, it was just another day. Do you realize that? Do you realize that this is being told to Luke years later? This crazy story about how Philip left this revival going on in this one town, and he had to go stand beside the roadside. And this Ethiopian eunuch, who we found out later, started this huge revival down in Ethiopia, and the Ethiopians began to serve Jesus. And then Philip, he's back up in Azotus. Well, I better read that verse. Meanwhile, Philip found himself farther north of the town of Azotus. He preached the good news there and in every town along the way until he came to Caesarea. Philip stopped a 10,000 person revival, came and saved one, left, and whether you want to believe it was supernaturally, like the Bible is saying here, he just took off walking and wound up in Azotus. I'm not arguing that point with you. You can believe on that what you want. I believe it was supernatural because it says he was snatched away. I choose to believe that. But Philip left that meeting. The only person that got saved that day was this Ethiopian eunuch. And then it says he went up to other towns and he started preaching again. See, Philip had given his life to Jesus. He wasn't allowed to stay where his successes were. You know how hard it is to leave a job whenever you're successful at that job? When you're doing great things, when things are popping and going, and then you get told to go somewhere else where things are not popping and going. In fact, you're there by yourself. Philip said, I'll do it, Lord, because I follow you. And I believe that you put me where I need to be. And that day, it was to stand beside a dirt road, waiting for a man he'd never met, not of his skin color, not of his faith, not of his culture, and to explain to him a scroll he may have bought on a whim as a trinket, as a what do we call those things from vacation? Just a trinket. Just something to remind himself of his trip. He bought this souvenir, and he decided, I'm going to read this. I know Hebrew. I'm going to read this scroll, see what it says. But the man was there on that day, at that hour, as he was passing by, ready to teach him about eternity, about a life that could look very different. Our God works in mysterious ways. And that day it was the Ethiopian's turn to meet him. And he responded correctly and didn't miss his opportunity. He didn't let it pass the chariot by. He said, I'll do it when I get in Ethiopia. He said, stop the chariot. Let's go declare, I'm going to go declare myself in front of you and everybody and all these servants that are here. I'm going to declare myself that I am God's and he is mine. As our worship team comes up, I want you to think about the benefit, the weight of that decision. You probably had to declare in front of family that believed all this. It was easy. This Ethiopian was changing everything. He was going a different direction. He was turning and going different than what he'd been going to previously. And he led all the servants, and you know they're going to talk to the other servants when they get back to the palace. I said, did you see Master such and such? Oh, we were driving beside the road, and he declared himself a part of another god. And they're going back and forth in the palace, and this is going all over the palace. But apparently, he kept talking. This Ethiopian eunuch kept talking, and it caused revival. That good news became like a virus. And it went from one mouth to another mouth to another mouth, and it started seeing people turn, and people's lives started changing, all because Philip was willing to go stand beside a road. Whether you're Philip or you're the Ethiopian eunuch today, keep doing what you're supposed to be doing. Let's worship together.